Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Choda with Ignition Time, and I have an important update for you about the unemployment benefit extension pertaining to the executive order signed by the President. Larry Kudlow on Fox News just announced and just basically pointed out that the actual unemployment benefit extensions are $700 per week in total unemployment benefits. I'll tell you how we get to that number. $700 per week in total unemployment benefits, which is $2,800 a month in unemployment benefits. Plus, he talked about a wage hike for 140 million working Americans. Now, before I go any further, let me point out a new announcement from the Labor Department, which is the department that oversees the unemployment benefit program, which, by the way, was instituted back in the 1930s. Individuals will not need to reapply for benefits in order to satisfy the self-certification requirement. And the Labor Department has said we will work with individual states to incorporate the FEMA requirement. And I have talked about funds from FEMA, $45 billion, approximately $45 billion worth of funds from FEMA in a fund called the Disaster Relief Fund. That's going to be used to pay the $300 federal component. Then there's a $100 state component, which, by the way, is also federal money because that comes through the CRF fund. So I'll explain the whole breakdown for you in a few minutes. But they said we will work with states to incorporate this FEMA requirement into the already existing weekly certification process. That's what the Labor Department said. So in this video, I'm going to go over three things. Number one, an overview of the unemployment system, some basics so you understand exactly how we get to the $700 number. Number two, how we get to the actual $700 a week number. And Larry Kudlow actually breaks that down in the Fox News clip, and we'll watch that clip together. And number three, what are the actual concerns from governors? Because a lot of governors have now started to speak up about the actual difficulty, the actual challenge in implementing this lost wages assistance program. So the unemployment benefit system, quick overview. It was created in 1935. It's a form of social insurance, and there are contributions to the system on behalf of working people so that there's income support in case they lose their job. The system also helps sustain consumer demand during massive economic downturns like this by providing money for families to spend, to be able to buy food, to be able to pay rent, and so on and so forth. So the states basically run their basic unemployment insurance programs, although the US Department of Labor basically oversees the whole system. Now, the basic program across all states provides right around 26 weeks of benefits to unemployed workers. It, under normal circumstances, replaces half of their wages. There's a plane flying over my head. I live close to a private airfield. So this provides them with up to half of their previous, half of their wages, up to a maximum benefit amount. So there's a minimum benefit amount, weekly benefit amount, and there's a maximum benefit amount, which comes from the states. I haven't gotten to the federal booster yet, pertaining to the executive order. I'll get to that. So just track with me here. So that there's a minimum maximum benefit amount. I have done other detailed videos on the channel talking about the minimum and maximum benefit amount. So you want to check out the channel about the minimum and the maximum benefit amount in your states. Now, states typically provide most of the funding and pay for the actual benefits provided to workers, and the federal government typically pays the administrative costs. Now, with the CARES Act, there was a $600 a week federal booster, which was money that came through the CARES Act directly to states, and sort of it was on top of the state benefit. And as you know, that expired at the end of July. And according to the Center of Budget and Policy Priorities, in April 2020, the average weekly benefits were approximately $333 a week nationwide. Now, they were as low as $101 a week in Oklahoma and as high as $531 a week in Massachusetts. I have covered all of this in previous videos in a lot of detail on my channel. So definitely go out and check out other videos in the unemployment benefit extension playlist. Look at the titles and you'll get lots of information about minimum maximum benefit amounts, about the retroactive dates, and so on and so forth. So you definitely want to check that out. Now, although states are subject to some federal requirements, they are generally able to set their own criteria. So you will have to talk to your state about specific eligibility. And a handful of states have reduced their maximum number of weeks below 26 weeks. And I have covered that in other videos as well. So you can refer to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. I'll link you to their website below for more information. Now, the White House economic advisor, who basically represents President Trump, in these matters, he basically said that this is Larry Kudlow, said that the Labor Department will help states in any way possible to implement this $400 a week, which is the lost wages assistance program. Remember, this is not a federal unemployment benefit extension because those funds have to be appropriated by Congress. This is essentially rerouting of money from FEMA through the DRF to contribute to the $300 federal component, and then from the CARES Act through the CRF, which is the $100 state component, which technically is federal money. Okay, so we're talking about a $400 top up. Now, the White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow did say we've modified the mechanics of the deal somewhat. They're saying they've modified the original executive order, if you will, to say that even if states cannot pay the $100 a week on their own, there's going to be still some form of assistance given so that people need the help that they so desperately need. So how did we get to the number of $700 a week? So basically, here's what Larry Kudlow said. Larry Kudlow said the average benefit is $300 a week. And I gave you the average across the country. It's actually $333 a week nationwide. If you take the average $300 a week and then the state puts in an additional $100 a week, again, this is money through the CRF fund, which is federal money. So 300 plus 100 is 400. Then the federal government will come in and contribute an additional 300 for that week. So you have 300 a week, which is the average. Again, I'm talking averages, okay? Everyone's situation is different. Your eligibility criteria, what you apply for, what you qualify for is different. And also, if you are getting less than $100 a week in state benefits, you're not even going to qualify for the $300 a week. So there will be some individuals who don't get anything. But on average, what Larry Kudlow is saying is that with the $300 a week median plus the $100 a week extra that the states will chip in, and then for that week the federal government will chip in an additional $300, that equates to $700 a week. Now, for the 1% of you who are going to be like, oh my God, this only lasts for 4 or 5 weeks. You're right. I have covered that in other videos. But in this video, I'm going to focus on the $700 a week number, which is a number that can be fact checked and which is a number that is stated by Larry Kudlow, by the White House, very specifically, very definitively in this clip. And we'll watch the clip together. So $700 a week times 4 is $2,800 a month in unemployment benefits on average. That is what Larry Kudlow is saying. He also talked about payroll tax cuts, but let's watch what Larry Kudlow says, what the White House chief economic advisor says about the $700 a week in unemployment benefits. Let's roll the tape.
This is not that hard. We put out a formula. All right, let me try to get this straight because some people on Sunday weren't listening to what we said or whatever. The states, first of all, if they give $100 already in benefits, just 100, any state gives 100, they will qualify for the $300 federal plus up, okay? The states will do it, but the federal government will put a $300 plus up.
But wait, that's a big statement. That's a big statement. The states will do it. Have you canvassed those states to make sure that they can A, afford it, and B, are willing to?
We modified slightly the mechanics of the deal. So initially, and states can still, if they put another $100 in to raise the benefit more generously, that's fine, it's up to them. But the way we're leaving it now is any state who put in $100 before for unemployment benefits, and every state did, they will then qualify for the extra $300. So the baseline of unemployment benefits from states is roughly $400, okay, per person per week. That's the median. On top of that, the federal government is going to put in $300, so that will give the benefit overall of $700. That's a tremendous. There are 16 million people unemployed. They need help.
Now, keep in mind, there are millions of unemployed Americans, but there are also 140 million Americans who are actually working. So for these individuals who are actually working, President Trump, Larry Kudlow said that President Trump wants these individuals to go home with more money. In fact, he specifically mentioned $1,100 amount because there's a payroll tax deferral for individuals making up to $100,000 a year. That is in the executive order. So essentially, Larry Kudlow said individuals have more incentives to come back to work. By the way, when he was asked specifically about when the money, the unemployment benefits money will get back out to the states, he said it'll take 2 weeks to get the checks out. And he did talk about a payroll tax benefit. In his words, this is going to be a wage hike. These are words from the White House economic advisor, senior economic advisor. He said it's going to be a wage hike of $1,100 for 140 million hardworking heroes, middle-class Americans who have been working, who have continued to work through this crisis. And he said that that's going to be because of the payroll tax deferral. Let's take a look at exactly what the White House economic advisor talked about, and he also addressed some concerns from governors because some governors are finding it hard to implement some of these things, this new lost wages assistance program. Let's take a look at what the White House senior economic advisor said today on Fox News.
Can they afford it? Are they willing to do it? The AP
No, I'm saying they've already done it. They've already done it, Sandra. In other words, they've already
okay, so
had their
address this real quickly, though. This is Governor Cuomo from New York and the Arkansas Governor Hutchinson, National Governors Association. They put out this statement. They said, we appreciate the White House proposals to provide additional solutions to address the challenges. However, we're concerned by the significant administrative burdens and costs the latest action would place on the states. Address their concerns and react to that statement.
Both of them friends of mine. We will work with them if there's any complications. I think their states are fine. They've already changed their programs to meet the CARES demand or the CARES generosity from last March. So they're already on their way. We are estimating it'll take about 2 weeks to get the checks out, the benefits out. It will be administered by the states. And let me repeat this. It's going to be $700 per person per week. That's a very big number. Second, let's not forget President's payroll tax deferral, which will be a wage hike for middle-class Americans, a wage hike of roughly $1,100 to the 140 million people who are heroes. They've been able to work, and they have. So we're helping the 16 million unemployed. Mm-hmm. We are helping the 140 million who are working. We want to provide more incentives to work and come back to work. And for those who are not employed, if they look at these numbers, an $1,100 pay hike is an incentive for them to come back to work. So these are crucial items to assist, to help, to grow the economy. And I think that's a big reason. These are big reasons why the stock market is feeling so darn good.
Now, keep in mind, some states have said that it's going to be hard to implement this. In fact, the governor of Pennsylvania, his name is Tom Wolf. He's a Democrat. He said this is not something that any state will be able to do quickly. That's what the Pennsylvania government said. And they did issue a memorandum, and you'll actually see part of the memorandum on your screen. It says the Wolf administration is reviewing the president's memorandum and waiting for official guidance from the U.S. Department of Labor and FEMA. However, we already know that what is outlined in the memorandum does not fall under the U.S. Department of Labor's unemployment insurance program, which mandates Pennsylvania's unemployment compensation program and the new pandemic packages. So this program, the Lost Wages Assistance Program that is established, was outside the federal unemployment program. And so therefore there is some doubt as to how this can even be implemented. That's what Pennsylvania pointed out. You see the screenshot on your screen right here. In addition, I want you to take a look at this chart on your screen. This is from Matt Darling. He's with Meridian Money, and he's the vice president at Ideas 42, which is a behavioral economics and research and development lab. And on his Twitter feed, and I will link you to his Twitter feed below, he has this rather interesting chart which actually tells you in green which states intend to implement the executive order. You can see West Virginia intends to implement the executive order. By the way, this is a very fluid situation. It's changing in real time, so you should check out his Twitter feed. In yellow, you see the states that intend to implement the executive order, but in a limited way. So we have Ohio that intends to implement in a limited way. In red, you have states that have said that they will not be able to implement the executive order. So you have New York, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and California who have basically said they will not be able to implement the executive order. And in purple, you have not sure if they can implement the executive order. Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Alabama have said that they cannot implement, or have said that they are not sure if they can implement the executive order. So you definitely want to check that out. And finally, in an article on the New York Times, many governors have said that Trump's orders, the president's orders on pandemic relief, could wreck state budgets. So here's what Governor Andrew Cuomo from New York said. He said, this only makes a bad situation worse. When you are in a hole, stop digging. This executive order only digs the hole deeper. His comments were echoed by Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky. He's a Democrat like Governor Cuomo, and he said it's not workable in its current form. It's something virtually no state can afford. Now, Governor Asa Hutchinson from Arkansas, who's a Republican, said it was possible to comply with the president's executive order, but they would have to reallocate money from another portion of the budget. And so Mr. Hutchinson said we could do it. It would be a readjustment of priorities and take some time. That's not ideal. And Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia, who's a Republican and who's an ally of the president, said we're digging in on that issue, and he said the staff is still working on this particular subject. And the Governor Jim Justice from West Virginia, also a Republican, said that the executive order would cost his state $26 million a week. The question of whether or not West Virginia will be able to pay that, whether or not West Virginia will willingly do that, I would tell you hands down, period, we're going to pay that. We cannot let our people that are sitting out there with no job wondering what in the world they are going to do, sit out there and wilt on the vine. So that's where things stand, everybody, with the state of the unemployment benefits extension. Feedback from the governors. Some governors say it's going to be possible. Some governors say it's simply not going to be possible. Every state is going to react to the Lost Wages Assistance Program differently. So the $700 a week is actually going to be possible in some states, and it is not going to be possible in other states. I will link you to all the resources that I pointed out in this video in the description below. Please check out those resources. Get in touch with your state agency for the latest information on the status of whether you'll get the $400 a week, whether your state can implement it, because this is not so much a matter of, I think this is not just going to be about the availability of the funds. I think it's the wrong question to ask is, hey, are the funds there? How long will they last? That is the wrong question to ask. The right question to ask is, can my state pull this off? Is this within the statute? Is this within the framework of the existing unemployment system in our state? Different unemployment benefits are adopted by different states because different states have different formulas. There is no one universal formula across the country, which is what makes this entire situation more complicated. I referred you to that chart earlier, which shows you some states can implement it and other states won't be able to. If you learned something new from this video, please click the like button below. Please subscribe and enable notifications so you get instant updates. If you want to get alerts from us on your cell phone, get your cell phone out. From your cell phone, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000, and you'll get added to our alerts list, and you can opt out at any time. We can also send you emails, provided you agree to a quick disclaimer, and you can opt out of those emails at any time as well. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time, most days of the week. I'm looking forward to giving you more important information pertaining to your financial future. Please make sure to click like and subscribe below. I will see you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Thank you. Bye.